Hello, welcome to Dyslexia Module 3. My name's Andrew Whitehouse, and I'm going to talk you through who I am, a little bit about me, and then we'll look at dyslexia. So I'm a TEDx speaker from Disability to Superpowers. I've told you in the first two modules, but I'm going to tell you again, just in case you haven't been there yet. It's really worth watching the TEDx. I do talk about dyslexia in there. You can find it on YouTube or on TED.com. For whatever reason, it seems to be easier to find on YouTube. I'm a Bamford lecturer from the British Academy of Audiology, where I delivered creating autism-friendly audiology clinics, and I provide short courses at Bishop Grosseteste University and the University of Lincoln. I'm a forensic special educational needs consultant, which means I provide impartial expert witness work in the courts when it comes to special educational needs and disability court cases, and I deliver training, observations, and I have a wide conference portfolio delivering keynote speeches. So I've done all sorts of things. The work today is really based on my boots on the ground work, as is all my workshops, or as are all my workshops. So if you want to be in touch with me, I will ask you questions throughout this, and I will give you pointers, anything you need to get in touch with me about, including the directed task. Here's all my contact details. You can get me at Facebook, Andrew Whitehouse, People First Education, Twitter, Andrew WSEN, Instagram, Andrew WSEN, LinkedIn, it's Andrew Whitehouse with a load of letters after his name. You can email me, Andrew at peoplefirsteducation.com, and there's even an online contact form on my website, which is peoplefirsteducation.com. The online form just comes through as an email. So lots of ways to get in touch with me, and I really do I do welcome your contact and your and your comments, etc. And I really do welcome answers to any of your homework. Now, when I first put this workshop together, what I did was I broke it down into the four major areas of the workshop. So I was putting a proposal together, and I thought, you know what, how are we going to break this up? These seem like really good ways to break it up. The effects of dyslexia on learning and teaching, dyslexia and implications for teaching, neuroplasticity and teaching the brain to track text, and self-assessment and monitoring comprehension. So that was the plan. When I got to writing it, it seemed that lots of these things merge into one another. So what I will say is that these four modules really do sit as almost one module, and my best advice to you is start on module 1 and see it all through. There's about 4 hours, so it would work out as the equivalent to a normal day course, but I really would start at the beginning, work your way through. So if you sat here looking at module 3, starting here thinking I'd like to know about neuroplasticity, I did cover lots of work on the brain in module 1. So and I think module 2 as well. So I really would start from the beginning. So let's start with a little bit of joy and jollity. This is a lady that came to one of my workshops, short courses at Bishop Grosseteste University. She sent me this lovely email. Hello, Andrew. I would just like to say how much a simple strategy has changed how I read completely. I used to have to read anything 3 or 4 times. I have read more for uni in 3 days than I have in 2 years. I can't wait to pass this on to my students. Many thanks, Rebecca, with a big smiley face. So lots and lots of things to pull out of that statement. Number 1 is the fact that we have changed how she reads. So we're looking at change within reading. Number 2, that we've reduced the amount of time she has to go through things, and she's going to pass this on to her students. But most importantly, how simple this is. It's really, really easy stuff that we're going to be doing, particularly in this part of the workshop. The other thing that I would like to mention is that this person came along as a delegate, presumably to look at practices with her students, but in actual fact her real agenda was coming to help herself with her own dyslexia. We get a lot of that on dyslexia, a heck of a lot, A lot of people come for themselves or for members of their family, even though they've maybe, you know, the agenda on paper has been to help practice in schools. So it is a really good example of how this kind of workshop is self-help as well as helping others. So if you're a dyslexic person, you might well get some really good ideas out of this course. Now, the core deficit for classic dyslexia is phonics. Phonics is the big problem, and it refers to the ability to identify and manipulate individual sounds within words. This is not the default setting for people with dyslexia, and without this skill, learning to read will be difficult or in fact nearly impossible. And so we've got two examples there. We've got k, a, t, and we've got cat. Now k, a, t is the phonemic way of doing things, or the phonetic way of doing things, and cat is that visual way of doing things. One of the things that I would say to you, absolutely, really do try to use flashcards and symbols and labeling things. Absolutely brilliant way of teaching people with dyslexia. Not as an alternative, as an additional, and we'll look at that a little bit later in this workshop. But labeling everything is really good. And one of the things I did tell you on one of the previous workshops is there's some recent research out there to say that having subtitles on whilst children are watching TV does help with their reading skills. So again, really worth taking that into consideration. There may be other associated difficulties, phonological processing, short-term memory, sequencing, number skills, motor function, that's moving, and organisation ability. Some of these are linked to ADHD. We have 50% of people with ADHD approximately have dyslexia. So lots of other things going on as well. So what I'm going to do first now is I'm going to set you off on an activity. Even though we're only 8 slides in, this is an early activity. What do you do to spell words you aren't sure of? Now, I want you to not think like a teacher or a teaching assistant or a Senko, not look, cover, write and check and all that stuff. Just actually, when you're actually trying to spell a word, how do you do it? There are certain things that answers that I won't accept. Sound it out is, or break it down. Those are answers that I won't accept because that's only half a sentence. How do you sound it out? How do you sound a word out? Do you sound it out in syllables, prefixes, suffixes, phonics, words within words, all those things. So that's, you know, if you're going to say sound it out with phonics, sound it out with prefixes, suffixes. So I want to hear that, and the same for breaking down. I would like you to think about ICT and how you use ICT, because we are enlightened 21st century people, and I would like to also think of any cheats and what my children call life hacks that you've got in there. So I reckon if you're working in a group of 2 or 3, you can probably get about 12. If you're on your own, again, you know, you should be able to get quite a few. So what do you do to spell words that you aren't sure of? Let's pause the video now and let you get on with that. Welcome back. So one of my colleagues in the northeast in County Durham got in touch with me, and she said, Andrew, she said, I need you to come up. We've got a whole load of children who just can't spell for toffee. I thought it was a lovely old-fashioned phrase, that, can't spell for toffee. So she said, can you come and do a workshop? So I thought about it, and I thought, well, the northeast is a very interesting example because they have quite a strong accent in the northeast, and you know, and so traditional phonics may be a problem. So for example, you know, if you were going down the town in the northeast, you might go do Natoon. Excuse my dreadful accents. I've got a strong West Midlands affinity. You might catch little bits in there, but you know, my sister says to me, why are you talking so posh and a Fowen? Well, phone, Fowen, you know, it's very interesting to watching a film and all those sorts of things. So mind you go. different accents, different places, that does mess with phonics, and it can be a problem in different areas of the country. Now, I'm a great fan of local dialects. I really do. I think it's what gives people a lot of individuality, and I think they should be preserved. But I also think we need to work around them. So one of the things I would say is that's the first thing that you might think of when you are talking about using phonics. You know, are they familiar to those children? So I've got a list here, 15 things that I thought we could go through. So forgive me reading out the list, but we will go through these and we will make some sense out of them. Spell check. Spell check on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet. Is it set to UK or US spellings? That's an important thing to remember. We got smartphones, things to remember. This is a couple of years old. I was still using a BlackBerry then. Blackberries are set to UK, were very accurate. Android and iPhones can learn your bad spelling and mistakes, but you can change this in settings. And so it is worth thinking about the Android and the iPhone there and saying, well, actually, am I training this Android to teach me to spell badly? Google, typing words into Google and letting Google or other search engines and looking at the suggestions. You start typing a word, it brings up suggestions, and you go, yes, that's what I was looking for. So if you just know the first few letters, you might have a lot of success. Similarly in Amazon, writing words out several times and then seeing which one looks correct. A lot of people say using a dictionary. If you can't spell, a dictionary can be quite useless, really, I suppose. The only places you see them now are probably classrooms, but writing things down several times, see if they work, and then cross-checking them with a dictionary is one way of doing things. Spelling rules. People say, oh, spelling rules don't always work. No, but they nearly always work. They nearly always work. The English language is a very complex language, and it has words from all over the world. You know, it's very diverse and eclectic language, and as a result of that, there are really no spelling strategies that you can use simply to spell every word in the English language. But spelling rules take a lot of criticism, but they usually work, and that's pretty much what we're looking for. None of these strategies, except for one, will work on every word, and I'm going to tell you which one is the one that works. So words within words. So we've got guidance, which has got dance in it, library, which has got bra in it, and separate, which has got rat in it. Similarities with other words. So circumference is circumnavigate, circumlocution. Shape, remembering the shape of words. This thing uses working physical memory. That's best with cursive spelling strategies. Fake it. Sometimes, now this was great. This was a teacher who told me, he said what he does if he can't spell a word and he's handwriting, he writes it in a kind of sloppy way. And so people can work out the word from what's around it. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Practice, repetition, mnemonics. So necessary, 1 coffee, 2 sugars, 1 collar, 2 sleeves. And learning a range of prefixes and suffixes and counting syllables. And finally, phonics. Yes, phonics are one of your most powerful weapons in your arsenal. But again, you know, I find it difficult, particularly with younger children as well, or children that are very dyslexic. I find it difficult to apply it to everything. And the one that works for everything, flashcards, labeling, just understanding, seeing that word and recognizing that word. So there you go, 15 strategies for children who can't spell, for toffee and everybody else. Just going back to that there, I'm just checking. Have I no, I haven't given you the link. So what I would say is, if you want to look at that, then I would say get in touch with me and I'll send you a link, or go on People First Education and search the blog. peoplefirsteducation.com. Do you remember, what did I come in here for? Yeah, short-term memory clinic. There is a short-term memory problem with dyslexia, so we see this quite a lot. And again, this has a massive impact on learning and teaching. So how it works is the sensory memory goes into the working short-term memory. Some of this is lost. The long-term memory tends to hold more. Retrieval sends it back to short-term memory, and we could lose it again. So short-term memory problems are an issue with dyslexia. And if you want to remember something, you must. There's 4 things. Number 1, understand it. Number 2, get it into memory. Number 3, think about it often. And number 4, use it often. So in my in a previous life, I was a musician. I play electric bass, and as an electric bass player, the way I would learn something and remember a piece would be to play it a lot. And if I was, as I was fortunate enough to do in my youth, if I was touring, quite honestly, you would be able to play anything without even thinking about it. Sometimes you'd be looking around and you'd think, oh my goodness, I was playing that without even thinking about it. Whereas the first time you do it, it might be really difficult. And that's how it works. So what I'm going to ask you, again, another little workshop, is how do you remember things? How do you remember things? And there's a few simple ones here. One that drives me nuts if I lose something. If somebody says to me, where did you have it last? Just telling you now, if I knew where I had it last, I would go back and fetch it. Yeah. But I do know that does work for some people, retracing their steps. Maybe it's the fact that I have ADHD that retracing my steps is difficult for me. But I'd have to know from some of you other people out there. So how do you remember stuff? So if we'll pause a second and we'll come back to each other on that one. Okay. Welcome back. How do you remember stuff? Love you to send any ideas that you've got. So things that we can do: ask someone else to remind you, timers on your phone, sending yourself emails, writing yourself post-it notes, messages on the cupboard. We've got lists. I'm a recent convert to lists. I say that, I've probably been using lists for about 5 years now. Somebody gave me a filofax and it was like a gift from the heavens. Putting things to help you remember something. So if you've got to take your laptop to work, leave the laptop leaning against the back door in the car overnight. Abstract placement's quite a nice one. If you you can pick up a pebble, put a pebble in your pocket, and the pebble is there to remind you of something else, like taking the laptop to work. Lots and lots of things. What I'd like you to do, put all those together, combine this with the list of spelling strategies that you've got, and there you've got 2 areas for your dyslexia policy: areas where we can help children with their short-term memory skills, and areas to help children with their spelling. So we've just helped write you 2 policies. So have a little go at that, put some good work into it, and maybe even leave a suggestion box in the staff room for people to add stuff to. Okay. Right, this is a video that I'd like you to see, because we do talk about some of the negatives. So I would like this gentleman, Mr. Dean Dragoner. He's going to talk about the true gifts of the dyslexic mind. It's a TEDx. It's really good. And he's talking about the sort of things that dyslexic people can do that you maybe can't do, your non-dyslexic people can't do. Now, while we're talking about this, to make reference, if you've got the online PDF, electronic PDF, you should be able to just click onto this. If you can't, go to tedgut.com or YouTube and search it up, or email me and I will send you it over. So whatever way you want to do, I will get it to you. But this is one of your directed tasks. Welcome back. Some of the things people with dyslexia find really helpful: peace and quiet for concentration. So we don't want too much multi-sensory going on at the same time. If you refer back to your autism modules, when I talk about extreme male brain theory and the fact that we've got 80% of dyslexics are male, we have that single attention, divided attention. If there's stuff going on in the background, they might not be able to concentrate. So we want that, and in with that, we want low sensory. We want to give people with dyslexia the opportunity to find their own strategies, freedom to experiment without being over pressured. So one of the things you could do there is give them a bit of time, give them a few ideas. Don't be on them all the time. How did you get on? What was this? You know, give them that time. Respond quickly to questions, allowing confidence. Again here, we've got people with short-term memory problems. If they put that, it is much differentiation as anything else. If they put their hand up to ask you a question, go to them early on. They're the people that need to answer quickly. And if you refer back to your ADHD courses, I did use some talking whiteboards where you can record your answers so you don't forget them. They're fantastic. They're from TTS or Special Direct Online, and they're called Premium Talk Time cards. I personally call them, though, talking whiteboards, because that's what they are. Pictures with text to help you understand, and that's great as well for if you have a tray and it says pencils and a few pictures of pencils, brilliant. Word banks, alphabetical word banks to consolidate alphabet skills, again, brilliant. And I've seen people do that in Excel and things like that, to be building on it all the time and to be able to reorder it all the time. Some other things that we talk about is some clear photocopying, bigger spaced out writing, paired work, and of course understanding that things can take a little bit longer. Okay. Some helpful resources. Label your resources with words, colours, symbols, and pictures. You know, you can't really be over the top about this. We're trying to consolidate what the words look like a lot of the time. Organisation tools to help with that short-term memory, and organisational problems. You may want things like a desk stencil. Desk stencil is it's a board where you draw around a ruler or a pencil and a pen, and you make sure everything's put on like that. If you remember, you may know someone. My dad used to have all his tools up in his shed, so he knew where his saw went. He'd draw around his saw, and that's where the saw went. And you know, that's the kind of thing, a miniature version of that for a desk. Pencil block, make sure you got all your pencils, and have a helpful person to make sure everything's there for them. You know, a monitor in class, which we do talk about a lot on these courses. So there's a great video out there. It's called Decoding Dyslexia. If you can get hold of a copy, it's quite old now, but it has some research from Yale University in America, and this research is being applied by Professor Karen Waldy in New Zealand. Excuse me. And she talks about not just changing what we do, but empowering the learner with dyslexia. So strategies, when you're going to get your strategies in place, and we're going to be doing a lot on strategy in this part of the workshop, get your strategies in place. You have to stick with them. The learner, the educator, people at home, everybody's got to stick with them. And again, what we're talking about there is the fact that it's doing all the time. Dyslexia is hard work. What you might find as well is that maybe somebody's not part of the loop here, so family don't want to get involved with it. I quite often see professionals that say, oh, you know, for whatever reason, they're not wanting to do this. The most important person to be doing this, obviously, is the learner, and the learner might be you. What we're born with isn't what we end up with. This is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the changing of the structure of the brain. We're always learning things. We're always learning how to do new things. We're recording this during the lockdown, the COVID-19 lockdown. I don't know if you're watching it still in the lockdown, but what I do know is this. We've all learned a heck of a lot about online learning and about online delivery. So Yale talked about re-educating the brain. Some helpful strategies, visual timetables. Really, Andrew, you talking about visual timetables? Yes, I am. Very helpful. Desks facing the board. If we've got the board is over there, turn, look, it's gone. You're adding extra stages to things. We're just adding one if the desk is facing the board. Do talk a lot about that in the autism and sensory workshop. Many dyslexics visualize in 3D, and so I'm gonna just, you know what, I can get a resource up here for you. Anyone who knows me knows I'm very proud of my Where's Wally bag. It's my Where's Wally bag. This is Where's Wally, low ability. So our producer over there is laughing at that joke. Nobody ever gets that joke. But of course the joke is there's only one Wally on the bag and nothing else. Okay. Right, so my toys. The teachers love toys, right? So there you go, Wally. We'll be back with you in a bit. So can you tell me, please, Mr. Producer Stir, can the screen see that letter on there?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking at that, you will know that it's the letter P. If I turn that over, it is the letter B. I, in fact, am seeing a D. If we turn it around like that, you may be seeing the D, but I'm seeing the P, and I'm seeing a Q. Can you see what I mean here? That this thing, for the dyslexic person, ladies and gentlemen, we are floating in space, and this is why the text moves around on the page. Of course, it does help a lot with the fact that we've got a lot of people who are drama students and professional actors that use these skills to their advantage, sports people, etc. It's a great strength, but it can cause problems. So we saw there visualizing P, B, D and Q can be very difficult with 3D visualizing ability. So we want visual strategies, holding it still. Do you remember Bed, who taught that one? Adding pictures and that kind of thing. Another little skill I'm going to teach you is that that we're going to use visualization strategies. This is the dyslexic version of look, cover, write and check. And what we're going to do here is, first of all, you're going to think of a place where you're going to visualize your word. So I'm going to visualize the word on my bedroom wall. In a minute, you're going to see a picture of my bedroom wall. So we get the person to put the word in their head. So we ask the learner to look at the word. The word I'm going to use is visualize. I'm going to visualize the word. Close your eyes. Can you see that word? Tap it in, like we used to tap in numbers when we're doing maths with little ones. And then we have some fun with it, seeing the word in colour and manipulating the word. So we're spinning the word round, changing the colour of the word, maybe changing the font of the word, all these kinds of things. And then what we do, we put that word on our bedroom wall. And so that's my bedroom there, and there's the word visualize. And that helps me to associate a place with the word. So pretty good stuff, right? And then you would write it down. I actually removed that from the training. I actually took that out of the training and thinking it was one of the weaker strategies. And I had several people approach me and say, oh, you must put that one back. We've been using that a lot in school. So shows you what I know. So what we call that is look, cover, manipulate, write and check. It's the dyslexic way. And the key bit in there is the manipulate. Putting letters on magnetic boards, on fridges. Fridge is great, right? You know, every home's got a fridge, so you can get parents doing this. Here's an interesting question for you. People do criticise me for this picture because they say they're capital letters. Why are you using capital letters? Because the language has got capital letters, you know, and we do use them from time to time. I know if somebody's upset with somebody, they tend to email or leave messages on message boards in capital letters. That's the internet equivalent of shouting at somebody. So, you know, why not? We're using them. What is the dyslexic friendly font? And people say, is it Comic Sans, or is it Arial, or is it... None of them. They struggle with reading. None of them are friendly. But You know, if you only teach the dyslexic what they seem to be dyslexic friendly fonts, then what you're going to find is that they can't read the other ones. Don't use the squiggly G's and the squiggly A's. Well, if you don't teach squiggly A's and squiggly G's, they will never know squiggly A's and squiggly G's. And actually, what might be a better idea is to teach them those odd ones, you know, different types of Q and stuff like that. Teach those ones explicitly on top of everything else that you're doing. Resources that you need, some great stuff there. Some really good ideas for using the page. I'll be going through those. Those of you who've seen Module 2 will know that we were using post-it notes as bookmarks. So, you know, those are quite interesting ones. So that's instead of using a bookmark so you can remember where you were on the page, I'm going to go back over some new ways and different ways in this bit of the workshop about marking pages. And we've got some interesting post-it notes there, different ones. I always try to pick up different things as I'm out and about, because the novelty element's pretty good, really. So those are my clanger pen toppers, just because kids like clangers, right? So, and if they don't, I do. So text moving around. So I'm going to be going into my toolkit now. If you've not been on Module 2, shame on you, because we're supposed to be watching them in order. But if you have not been on Module 2, you might not have seen this. This is a book that I use. It's not one of my favourite books about dyslexia, but it is a great book in as much as the pages have all fallen out, and so I can use the individual pages. So let me just, oh, we've got some great stuff here. Okay, let's put this one up here. Can the viewers see this one, please?
Yeah, not the text though.
No, they don't need to read the text, but they can see what I've done. So circling the words left to right as you're reading them. Now, this is actually training the brain to track left to right. So the dyslexic brain's doing this, and what you're doing is remodeling. You're reading left to right. And so you would circle each word as you go along. Please, nobody tell me, well, we can't write in the books. You know, we have scanning facility, we have whiteboards, we have things that can go over that we can use to circle onto. There's lots and lots of ways. I don't promote lots of photocopying, but it is an option. So yeah, circling the word as you go along. I'm a great fan of the annotated book. And then I was going to show you another one which is even better. This oh, this is a good one. Yeah, I will put that one out there. I do enjoy this, and yeah, and we will use that one, and we will use I'll have to see if I can find one more. You can have that one. Oh, I'm getting very overexcited here now. I think that'll do. I think that will do. Ah, no, got another one. Right, brilliant. Okay, so you can do this in different ways. So I'm going back into the pencil case. You can look in the pencil case, but if you do, I have to kill you. So, one of the great dyslexia resources, one of the greatest things known to humanity for dyslexia is the clicky pen. So I'm just going to show you some different ideas that have been done with the clicky pen. Starting off with this one. Can we see the colour of that one on the screen, the circles?
Yeah.
So this one is pink circled, so it just shows up better on the black and white. And then I thought, what a great idea. What about if we wanted to distinguish line from line? So this has gone pink, it's gone purple, pink, purple, blue. So each line is in a different colour. And then here's another one. See, it was worth me going through all that stuff, wasn't it? Where to help with that discrimination, each word has been circled in a different colour. This is long going, hard going, but it will get quicker, just like me playing tunes on the bass. And you will get better at this as you go along. And then just another one there. So this one here, what they've done with this one is rather than circle each word, they're getting a bit quicker and they're lining the words as they go along. Wouldn't go for that one first because the automatic reaction of children is just go, yeah, we've done that. So really helpful resource. Okay, just leave that there. I've just spotted it. I'm going to need that in a little while. And where am I? Here. Yeah, here, Andrew. Where's here? It's here, of course. So, some of the tools you need: highlighters, post-its, clicky pens, prompt cards, squidgy somethings to help you with your fine motor, and also just to help you concentrate. Word banks we talked about. We want to talk about colours now as well. People ask me about colours. I'm a little bit easygoing when it comes to colours. Apart from very extreme dyslexia and severe dyslexia, I think the fact that we've used colours is good enough if we're toning down the paper. I think people will be drawn to colours that help them, and I think pretty much anything's better than black on white. But highlighters, using your highlighters to highlight different parts of the word. So if you're looking at the IGH cluster there, you might just highlight all the IGHs in a text. Highlight important facts for your visual memory, and different coloured bullet points. Now this is a really good one. So what you would do here is, if you were maybe for the dreaded multiple choice questions, you get your highlighter and you might highlight A in yellow and the answer B in green and C in pink, and that way they don't get mixed up with each other, and it just makes it that little bit easier. Also, it's helped you track left to right to read those words. So highlighting in multiple choice is really good. I'm going to show you another bit here. This here, anyone who doesn't like writing in books, look away now. This one will drive you nuts. So what I've done here is I've got the yellow highlighter and I've gone left to right, miss a line, left to right, miss a line. And I've done that over and over and over again. I've then gone back and I've said, right now, let's get the other highlighter and do the same again. And what I've done, it's like a sporting activity. That's my warm-up exercises to get ready for the big job of reading. And then what I've done is I've gone back and I've circled the words left to right. And that's a really, really good one. Now, just before we move on from that, what I will say to you is this, that you'll notice there's a black box around there. I was working with a child, 13-year-old girl, and she was really finding all this helpful, but she said the words kept falling off the page, and like a smackero blurdy from the hintermost, I thought, why not draw a little box around it? So I said, just draw a box around it and now try it. And she said that worked perfectly, and I've used that ever since. In fact, coincidentally, I used it for a completely different 13-year-old girl only a few weeks later. So black on white causes visual distortion over, so you could use coloured paper. Overlays, change background colour on the whiteboard, and please do play with your colours. Get yourself onto this here. There are 50 punch pockets here. There's so many numbers on here I couldn't see it, and they've all come in a range of different colours: yellow, blue, purple, sorry, hold it up, green, and you can put your text in there. So these are nice new ones. So I'm going to use an old one that's been hanging around a little while, just because I don't want to open a new packet. Oh. And you put your text in there, and obviously you've got a nice new one you would Well, that's a little bit tight of me really to use that one, isn't it? It's a really awful one, but you can see the benefit, and you can also use a dry wipe to annotate it. So lots and lots of stuff there that you can do. We've also got, the reason I like coloured punch pockets, by the way, one of the reasons is they're a heck of a lot cheaper. You can use these come in a range of colours, so I've got a few different ones down here, and look at, oh, excuse me, but you use it back to front, and you've got there that lovely looking overlay. So lovely stuff there you can do. And then I've got some more bits and pieces that I've picked up along the way. So okay, I'm going to put those over there for a minute, but actually, do you know what, I'm going to come back to that. You will see them, I'm just going to talk about them in a little bit, because I know we've got some stuff coming up that's a bit more appropriate to those resources. Small chunks of verbal, time to review. What did I say, Michael? Can physical movement go with the sound? I want to go and get me 2 dice. Encourage chanting and repeating. I'm going for 2 dice. I'm going for 2 dice, 2 dice, 2 dice, 2 dice. Drawing in the air. Writing on hands with fingers. I really don't like the feel of that, which is why you remember it. If you put an S on your hand, you'll keep that S with you all day. Writing on the playground with squeezy bottles, writing on each other with squeezy bottles, tapping out syllables. You can do that with your chin as well, tapping out syllables, and then nobody can see you. On the interactive whiteboard or an ordinary whiteboard, you've got your words. You write your words with a dry wipe or with the whiteboard pen, and then go over it with either the erase function or just your finger. That helps you to consolidate words that you are learning to read. Okay. Cutting out letters in sandpaper. You'll wreck your scissors, but what great fun. Brain gym, wake and shake, activate, move into a different spot in the classroom. This is to help with many hyperactivity issues that you may have, particularly if you're comorbid with ADHD. What skills, knowledge and attitudes are required for good reading comprehension? Let's take a look, shall we? So, right, I'm going to go through this one at a time. Some things that you need to know. Accurate and fluent word reading skills. This is for non-dyslexic, just everybody, for comprehension. Oral language skills, vocabulary, linguistic and comprehension. Extent of conceptual and factual knowledge. Knowledge and skill in use of cognitive strategies to improve comprehension or repair it when it breaks down. Reasoning and inferential skills, and motivation to understand and interest in task and materials. So let's start at the beginning again. Yeah, so you've probably not got the accurate and fluent word reading skills. You may not have the vocabulary or the linguistic comprehension for both reasons that I cover in workshop number 2, module 2. Basically, you may not have had access to those, and you may not have the factual knowledge because you've not done the reading. And so that would jump you down to the very bottom point, motivation to understand and interest in task and materials. And so motivation to understand straight away is going to turn you off, isn't it? Okay. In other words, the student's reading comprehension depends upon how well they read the words on the page and how much knowledge they have and how well they think, how motivated they are to do the work of comprehension. And it's difficult because if you struggle, you are going to be slightly demotivated. Of course you are. Reading strategies we want to look out for here. Any excuse to bring Snoopy into the work, but predict, try to figure out what's happening next, visualize, pardon the American spelling, but he is Snoopy. Picture the people, places and events being described. Connect what you're reading to other texts in the real world. Question, ask questions about the materials that you are reading. Clarify, investigate, identify main points and summarize, and evaluate, judge the story and the actions of the characters. So these are, you might want to break these down. Most people are doing these, most average are doing these all the time. What you might say is, let's do these one at a time and do them in that order. 1, 2, 3, predict, visualize, connect, question, clarify, evaluate. You might want to clarify or simplify written directions. Some directions are written in paragraph form and contain many units of information. You see I use bullet points. I hope it's not too much death by PowerPoint for you. I really don't want that to be the case. But you know, when I've got a piece of text that I've written, I want to break it down. I might break that down over 3, 4, 5, 6 slides with a few pictures. You then might want to go back to underlining, highlighting the important bits, and rewriting the directions can be helpful as well. When confronting unacceptable behaviour, do not inadvertently discourage the child with dyslexia. Bad words, lazy, can seriously damage the child's self-image. Apparently, I'm lazy. There you go. I wasn't aware of that. And in actual fact, it turns out that I have a neurological diversity that causes me to think differently. Often learners with dyslexia may set unattainable goals for themselves. H. Helping the child set an unattainable goal can change the cycle of failure. Set an attainable goal. So we're looking for small successes. The learner needs to recognise his or her successes. I can see where that H has got missing from. And to do so, they need to achieve some success. Well, if you've been listening to what I've been talking about, you know, people with dyslexia tend to be very successful in other aspects of life. And so they have their skills, they have their attributes. And if we saw Dean Dragoner's video, you'll be aware of that. We just need to pull those out. Tear pages from workbooks, you know what I'm like. I'm okay with that. Use little bits, or you could use a scanner if you're less anarchistic than me, less anarchic, sorry, than me, to present small tasks to learners who may be anxious about quantity. And this also stops them from reading on and trying to, you know, find out more and maybe being discouraged. If a learner is distracted by visual stimuli on a full worksheet or page, a blank sheet of paper can be used to cover sections of the page. Thick wooden one, not a see-through one. I'm going to talk about see-through rulers in a bit because they are ace. Okay, marking your page with paper clips. So we talked about, and I'm back here again. We talked about using little tabs to mark your page, but you could also use a paper clip, and a paper clip and a tab has exactly the same way of doing things, in as much as it will mark the exact part of the page, not just the page. So quite a nice way of doing things. Please try that. Cutting out windows. So we've got a couple here, and so what you might be able to see there, I hope you can, is that I've got this, basically it's a reading ruler, and you can use the colours if you wish. You might also want to cover up certain individual words, and at the top here we've got the element to do that. Or you could do what I do, or I did, and go down the co-op and get a normal ruler for 30p, which has got that tracking line in the middle. So again, stuff you can do. Using larger font. It's a nice easy one, isn't it, that you might not have thought about, but using a larger font. And when I buy a book, you know, I just go, if I've got that little tiny old-fashioned font, I go, oh no, give me something bigger. If the learner can read a certain textbook but has difficulty finding the information, you know, get the teacher to go through with a highlighter. Absolutely. Using Kindles, of course, is also a good way forward. We're looking at that in the next workshop. Placeholders. Certain things you can even cut down the text, cut the corners off. We've read that, move back, come back to it, or fold it over. I like the idea of cutting it back with a blade. Supplementing material with practice activities, using instructional games, peer teaching activities. All these are great. Peer support in particular. ICT games. Loads of stuff out there. Absolutely tons. This one I like is tvokids.com. But there's tons. You probably know more about this than me. You know the good ones. Please do share them. Try to use audio recording devices. Hang on, something's happened here. Oh, I've clicked on the TVO link and I'm not connected to the internet. So I thought, what on earth is that? Anyway, yeah, audio recording, direction stories, specific lessons can be recorded. I mean, it's even something like this. You go back and go over it again. Replay the recording to clarify understanding of directions or concepts. There's a piece of advice for you. Additionally, the learner can read the printed words silently as they're presented orally, so reading along with the narrator. Technology, assistive technology, there's all sorts of stuff out there. Tablets, smartphones. I mean, who knew the smartphones were going to go the way they were? iPad, e-readers. I think most e-readers went by the wayside in the end, didn't they? And I think Kindle kind of cornered the market. The Kindle Paperwhite is absolutely fantastic. Going to be using one in the next workshop. E-dictionaries that you've got in your Microsoft Office, spellers, text-to-speech, and audio books. Use in explicit teaching procedures, so we're repeating directions, so you get them to repeat back to you in their own words. If you're looking at directions, get them to give them to a peer to sort of share. If directions contain several steps, break them down into subsets, as I was discussing earlier, and simplify them, presenting only one area at a time. Have routines, have a timetable. This is our routine. We're going to hang up our coat and book bag. We're going to put our papers in the basket. We're going to answer the question of the day, write the name on a piece of paper, and then we have art, music, gym, and guidance, whatever guidance is. Well, here, these are great, and what they do is, well, they're explicit, not implicit, and they're telling you what to do, not what not to do. So instead of don't leave your coat on the floor, it's hang up your coat. I like that. Have a handout, so you'll either get yours later or you should be in possession of it. Have a graphic organizer, people, places, dates and objects. Really helpful resource. Okay, so we've come to the end of this particular workshop. Just want to talk to you about your directed task. How can you, we looked at alternatives to phonics, how can you integrate alternatives to phonics into your day-to-day learning and teaching? So that's your directed task. And if you want to email me with some of your ideas, that's brilliant. Remember, any ideas you email me, I will probably use them for other people. It's all about the sharing. So we can